Hello and welcome to MotoCity. I'm Kyle Bradshaw and today we're going to be talking about the differences between the 2021 CRF450RL.
Every once in a while, a new motorcycle hits the market that shakes things up and changes the game.
CRF450R. And then this guy here, that is the Works Edition, the CRF450RWE. The first big difference is going to be the weight. That's about a 50-pound difference between the two motorcycles. Now, in addition to the weight difference, there are a couple performance differences between the two bikes, but they're really small when it comes to the details, and we'll get into that here in just a minute. When looking at the weight alone, looking at this bike over here, it's a street legal motorcycle. We have a license plate frame back there, we've got turn signals, we've got mirrors, we've got a headlight bucket, a couple key things that you need to have in order to be able to ride this motorcycle legally on the street. Obviously, this here is the Works Edition. This is a race-ready machine. If you want to ride Supercross, you can literally jump on this thing and compete with world-class pros. It's a pretty phenomenal machine. Now, the bike that we're missing is the bike in between these two. It's going to be the CRF450R. Now, the R model motorcycle is going to be a race-ready machine as well. Not quite to the level that the WE is, so it's not quite Supercross level, but anybody can compete on a traditional R model. It's going to be a perfect track day bike. Now, new in 2021, the CRF450RL got a facelift. It really is a ride-it-all motorcycle. It's such a simple idea. We're taking a full-on race-ready dirt bike and putting a license plate on it, giving you the freedom to ride from trail to trail. The on-road part is usually pretty easy, but the off-road part truly separates the best bikes from the rest of the bikes. And that is exactly where Honda's extraordinary CRF450RL shines the brightest. It's such a good off-road bike that this year we've even changed its name, showing how closely it is derived from the CRF450R and the 450RX models. And you see that R has been put into the name of the 450RL. They want you to know that these bikes are super similar now. This legitimately is a race bike with a license plate. Now, we're going to go over right now and talk about the finer details of the three different models, what makes them different, so you have a better understanding of which model will be best for you. Now, super high level, the differences are really minute. Again, we had the weight. Number one, when it comes to compression, the 450RL has a 12-to-1 compression ratio versus the R, which has a 13.5-to-1 compression ratio. Another big difference is going to be the transmission. On the 450RL, we have a wide ratio 6-speed transmission versus the R and the RWE. Those both feature a close ratio 5-speed transmission. Now, when looking at the final drive of all three motorcycles, they all run a 520 chain and they all have a 13-tooth front sprocket. The race model vehicles are running a steel sprocket set with a non-O-ring chain versus the RL model over here, which is running an O-ring chain, steel sprockets with rubber dampeners on the sprockets themselves. So over here you can see the sprocket actually has a rubber dampener that's all the way around. So that chain actually comes down and rests on a piece of rubber instead of just resting on the rollers, which makes this thing really quiet when running down the road. When diving into the suspension, they both are running 49mm telescopic Showa forks. Now, the difference really is going to be the 12 inches of travel that the RL has versus the 12.2 inches of travel that the R and the RWE have. Looking at the braking systems, they are identical on all three motorcycles. We have a single 260mm disc with a twin piston caliper in the front, and in the rear, all three bikes are running a single 240mm disc. Looking at the rear suspension, we have a ProLink Showa single shock with adjustable spring preload, rebound, and compression dampening adjustability. On the RL, we have 11.8 inches of travel versus the R and the RWE, which feature 12.4 inches of travel. Obviously, looking at these bikes, the tires are significantly different. We have an IRC GP21 in an 80/121 size on the 450RL. And then both of the motocross bikes are going to have the Dunlop MX33 in an 80/121. And of course, we're running match branded tires. So in the rear of the 450RL, we have the IRC GP22 in a 120/80/18. And then on the race bikes, we're looking at the MX33 from Dunlop in the size 120/80/19. When it comes to wheelbase of these bikes, the RL comes in at 58.9 inches versus the R and the RWE coming in at 58.3. That's about a half-inch difference in wheelbase overall. When it comes to seat heights, we're looking at about an inch difference. The RL is coming in at 37.2 inches, and the race version bikes are going to come in at 38 inches even. Ground clearance is also different by about an inch. The RL features a 12.6 inch ground clearance, whereas the race bikes are going to be sitting at 13.2 inches. Now all three of these models are going to feature a titanium fuel tank to save weight. Now the difference on the RL model is the fact it's going to have a plastic shroud that goes over the top of it, and it's going to hold 2 gallons of fuel versus the race bikes, which hold 1.7 gallons. Now another feature of the RL that the race bikes don't have is they've actually coated the inside of the swing arm, so you have less noise and vibration transferred from the road through the motorcycle and into the atmosphere. These bikes feature a new chassis.
Lateral rigidity has been reduced by 20% by using narrower main frame spars and changing the reinforcement ribbing on the backside of the pivot plates.
They have undergone a major engine overhaul.
One of the biggest changes in this area is at the exhaust port, which is now more centrally located and oval shaped, which helps in the mid RPM range. The capacity of the air filter and the air intake has been dramatically increased from 1.8 liters to 4.1 liters on the clean side of the air filter. The air filter is much easier to access, and the injector angle has been changed from 30 degrees to 60 degrees. That improves the cooling of the air in the intake path. In addition, the layout of the decompression system has been revised, which enhances combustion stability in the low RPM range. Plus, there's a new exhaust system. It's 2.7 pounds lighter and more direct, reducing the width of the bike not only at the rear, but also in the header area. And there's also an all-new clutch. With 27% larger capacity, it adds an additional clutch plate and a new friction spring. So together, these changes result in reduced clutch slip over the course of a tough moto. And since the clutch is now hydraulically actuated, the lever pull is lighter as well.
They feature all new suspension, new bodywork, all with the goal of letting you rail through the corners with the most precision and power you've ever experienced. Forget about clutch fade, adjustment, or hand fatigue with the new hydraulic system. And lighter than ever, the 450R and 450RWE explode out of corners when it's time to increase your lead. Moving on over to the RWE, no mistake, the CRF450RWE, WE for Works Edition, is more than just a standard bike with some bold new graphics. We have fine-tuned it with special touches like an exclusive Yoshimura exhaust. This is the race series, the Works Edition, RS12. We've got a twin air filter versus a regular Honda filter. Throttle jockey seat cover, Hinson clutch basket and cover, premium DID Dirt Star LTX rims, titanium nitrate coated forks, and hands-on touches like special cylinder head porting. The second the gate drops, you will know it was worth every penny. And then there are the specs that nobody can match: Honda quality and Honda reliability. So quick and dirty, let's look at some of the differences that we see between these two motorcycles. First off, we're going to have obviously street style handlebars with mirrors. Now, I was really surprised to see that this is a non-fat bar. So they just put a traditional 7/8 inch dirt bike handlebar on this thing. Kind of interesting. Again, we have normal street controls over on both sides. Of course, electric start, pretty cool. Moving on over to the RWE. We're going to find hydraulic everything up here, just like the other bike, but we're going to find a Renthal fat bar up here. The triple clamps are different. The street model does not have adjustments, so there's a single point of mount for the risers here in the top clamp, or the top triple clamp. When over here on the race version, you can see we have it currently set up in the rear facing holes. We have another hole here that we can actually move those bars forward. Pretty nice feature. Looking at the front of the bike, obviously we have no headlight over here, and we've got a headlight on the RL model as well as reflectors because it is a street legal motorcycle. Moving down to the forks look almost identical until you look at the actual coating that's on the lower part of the forks over here. Ouch, my God. Dude, these stickers are horrible. All right, back to business. So this here you can see we have just a traditional fork coating, nothing special. And over here we have the special Race Tech coating. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's black and it is super, super smooth. Yoshimura does amazing stuff to be able to get power out of these machines. Over here we have the carb compliant street version exhaust pipe, complete with license plate fastener back here. Moving down to the street model, we have a kickstand versus a regular triangle track stand over there on that guy. Foot pegs are identical on all these models. Engine is slightly different. We have a different unicam top here for this guy, and then this one has been ported and special deals done on the works unit, and it's beautiful. On the race bike, there's no fan, so they eliminated weight by keeping the fan off. Now you're always rolling air through the front of that radiator, so it's not really a big deal. But here on the RL model, where you might get stuck in traffic, we've got a fan right there. What are some other differences that I saw in poking around between these two models? I was impressed that the frames on these motorcycles are pretty much identical. When you look at the actual, like where the welds are at and all the bends, everything looks really, really close. Now another thing I also noticed, actually two things different between these bikes, is obviously this guy's emissions compliant for the street. We have a charcoal canister down here, and then I noticed we have a radiator or coolant reservoir up here in the front. We obviously don't have either of those over here on the race bike. Well, my friends, that wraps up our walk around of these two exquisite motorcycles from Honda. Three, actually, if you count the non-represented R model, which isn't here in front of me today.
So it's an X with some mirrors.
You could say that.
I just did. Duh.
The CRF450RWE comes in at $12,380. The CRF450R comes in at a base price of $9,599, whereas the 450RL comes in at $9,999. If you're looking to hit the racetrack, the R or RWE model is going to be the perfect motorcycle for you. Literally race ready out of the box. If you're looking to hammer some highway and tackle some trails and want to be able to connect trail to trail over highway or backcountry road, the 450RL is going to be the perfect ticket for you. If you have any questions about these three motorcycles, please leave a comment down below or call the number at the bottom of the screen here. You can also visit azmotocity.com to see all of the specs and details of these motorcycles for yourselves. If you like what you saw today, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want more motorcycle action like this coming directly to your inbox, please hit that subscribe button and, more importantly, the notification bell so you can be part of the notification squad. Until next time, and as always, take care and ride safe out there.